Thank you for coming to another episode of Potheads Pondering. I'm Lotta, producer for the Bakersmen Collective, and today we have Mr. Stone Jones, musician, producer, pothead, and escape artist, here to talk a bit about RSOs and that extraction technique. Here at T.B.C, we try to focus on educating individuals about the industry in all facets and down to a little bit of self-preservation there, right? So if you have the know-how, then you can critique what is being offered to you. And Mr. Jones, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, how's it going?
Pretty
Glad to be here.
right. Thank you for coming on.
Um, like I said, I'm a musician mainly by trade and a producer. Pothead. I've been a lifelong pothead. Grew up out in the East County, up here out by Bellingham. So it's just been a way of life since I was pretty young, teenager.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatcom County definitely has the culture of cannabis. It like tied, rooted real deep. I've noticed in my differences being like a transient or a person that came from Florida to Washington. I was
Mhm.
looking for the culture of cannabis that I thought was pervasive, and what I found was like each area, like Seattle has its own vibe with it, Tacoma has its own vibe with it,
Yeah.
Everett, and it's set by the people that run that city. And what I found in Bellingham could be compared, or at least Whatcom County, to that of the Emerald Triangle in California, like Humboldt
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
County. Right. So the
Yeah.
real culture of old school, growing the weed in the dirt, like give them the vibes, and then it got to the sciencey side. So do you have any preferred pronouns?
Oh, not really. I'm him, he, his, but everybody call me what they want. I don't care. I'm cool. I use
Well,
fucker because it's a completely neutral, gender neutral form of address. I've been doing that for years. It's starting to pick up. I think everybody should call each other fucker. It's great.
I like bih. So I'm from Florida. So BIH. It is a short term. And like, so a
Okay.
lot of like, what's going on, bih? Or this bit is crazy. And so throwing those terms in there, it's not like, I don't know if it came from not being able to curse in front of your parents or what have you. Just,
Absolutely.
just
There you.
simple
Yeah.
ebonics. But yeah, bih. Like I'm going and out here, then some folks are like, man, are you calling me a bitch? Like, what? They get defensive about it. And I'm like, but yes, but no. So, okay, what do you think makes you a pothead? You said you grew up in Bellingham. What we spoke about the culture of cannabis being there, but like, what is that to you? Like, how would you define that?
Um. Well, that right there.
Oh, yes. Bring out the artwork.
Uh. Well, I was I was part of the pre 502 company type growing situation, shall we say?
The medical market?
Yes,
Okay, got it.
and
That's Wild
even
West.
older than the medical market. We'll
Right.
just say that.
So pre-legal experience. I like it.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
Um, I did originally get into it as a way to make money,
Mm-hmm.
but after I moved to Hawaii for about a decade. When I came back, it was the medical market was just getting started, and so I decided I wanted to get into the legal side of everything. And Washington made it pretty tough, but I was able to do that. And
How did they make it
Frank,
tough?
well, I mean, originally the licenses were very expensive, and they were. I remember the very first when we first started to research it. It appeared that and I could be wrong. You get so many different conflicting stories from the media, whatever.
Right.
But the government website I went to said you basically had to be up, have your whole grow up running, security, all the cameras, everything, all the sanitation measures, everything for a chance at getting a license. And then after you spent all that money, if you weren't approved for a license, then you'd have to shut down.
Got it. And so you were looking at a cultivation license at that time.
Yeah, and I decided it wasn't really worth it, so I just kind of did my own thing, kind of
Right, as
under
the
the
market
radar.
normally does.
And then when I got tired of doing that, I went to work for a company for a friend who had a company, and I, got to learn a lot more through there.
Right.
But basically, I think what really sets me up as a pothead is I was one of the first 10 people in the door in the state of Washington on legalization day.
Hey, talk about it. Where'd you go?
Top shelf cannabis, Bellingham, Washington. First sale
Hey,
in the state.
put them on. Okay. That's real. So that's OG status. You got it. That's maybe triple OG. You feel me?
Could be.
Right. Right. One of the can you say that? Can you say you were one of the first 10 people to buy legal weed in the state of Washington? And if you can't, I think you gotta tune in. So well, what got you into making Simpson Oil? Because that's where we bonded, right? That's we started
Yes.
talking about little RSO up in Bellingham. I went for the Bellingham Bud Fest, and it was a great opportunity. Thank you so much for being able to speak on that panel.
Oh,
We
yeah. Shout out to Stacy and Vivian.
right, doing great work. And spreading the message that
Mm-hmm.
like weed is here to stay, and we've got to support the culture. So what got you into making RSO?
Okay. That started when I was running my own legalization had happened, but it wasn't very good yet. It was light, it was dry, it wasn't very, it was bad, it was expensive. And I said to myself, it's like, hey, I have a certain amount of time before everybody catches up and they figure it out and it's going to be super awesome. Kind of where it's at now. So we had a dear friend contracted brain cancer, diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I just started researching, cannabis and cancer and came across this dude named Rick Simpson who showed you how to do his process. And it was an article. It wasn't, I mean, maybe you can find it on YouTube. I'm not very YouTube literate. So,
Right. Yeah, I saw that article. Like, yeah.
yeah. Okay. So I followed his process, made a couple of tweaks of my own.
Right.
And uh, so I started making it specifically for him
Hmm.
and other cancer patients in the area. A local club owner got cancer, called me up. But it was specifically because I'm pretty anti-cancer, really.
Right.
And
As we all should be. Fuck cancer.
fuck cancer. It's not, yeah, nobody deserves that. I don't care who you are. So basically it was for Scott, and we lost him in 2016. And I just kept making it.
My condolences.
Thank you. He was a big supporter of cannabis. Played at Hemp Fest with our up on the main stage a few times, more than once. So
Okay.
uh, big shout out to Scott Green.
Right, right.
So yeah, it was really specifically to try and help cancer. A friend of mine, another friend of mine from Seattle, I dropped him off a 1 gram worth, and his his cat had a tumor on her kind of like her side by her butt,
Right.
and he just decided he wasn't ready to lose the cat yet. So he picked up some RSO from me and
Mhm.
rubbed it on the tumor, and as far as I know, that cat's still doing fine.
Okay, so some another anecdotal testimony of like how it has helped others directly related to you, and I think those are I love studies, but if you create something and you see it, you watch it, how can I deny that my experience is real, like that's so when they try to discredit anecdotal stories, I am frustrated. I think there needs to be a point where both the science and a reported visibly observed effect means.
That's it. Absolutely. The anecdotal evidence is somebody has seen with their own eyes.
Right.
The study, it's great. It happens in a lab. So, did the publisher see it? I mean, who
Right.
knows?
Like what's the difference? But because you have a lab coat in this, it's weighted higher, or it, like, I guess because it's a repeatable process, right? That's why the scientific process is. But I just anyway, I want to walk away from that because that's an
Fair
exercise.
enough.
Why don't we tell the people out there what is Rick Simpson oil?
Okay. Rick Simpson Oil, named after obviously a guy named Rick Simpson,
Right.
who was looking for an alternative to chemotherapy or radiation, if you will. Something that might help people, deal with their cancer, without so much poison.
Right.
Maybe it's a
Right.
better way. Maybe it'll cure it. I mean, there's a few articles that said, THC has been injected into lab mice and cured brain tumors
Right.
in mice. That we can. There's a study, but so he invented this, extraction process where you use. To me, I'm not so sure that Rick Simpson oil is now the best name for it. I mean,
Right.
obviously pays homage to it, but I would call it full plant extract.
Yep, and that's what the industry itself has moved towards in the
And
first.
I'm okay with that.
Right,
I'm
go ahead.
it's a perfect description. But unfortunately, I do believe, and it comes back to this anecdotal evidence again. I do have a friend that I supply with RSO,
Right.
and she has gotten herself, uh, her daughter, I believe, and two other people completely off of opiate painkillers.
Talk about it.
I
Right.
can't
Can't be
remember exactly,
specific
but
that medical, but to say opioids, because right, we're trying to back funding to study it as THC or cannabis as a um alternative option to opioids that we know is currently fueling an epidemic. Like it is pervasive, especially out here in Washington. If you want to speak to the fact that there opioid overdose and consumption is astronomical right now. And so are we going to hold those pharmaceutical companies responsible? We kind of did. But the government played a part in that as well. So now we're here, and once again cannabis is trying to save the day, and it's working, right? But
it is.
can't get we need the studies to back it so the rest of the world can accept it, which is why cannabis is so important to the health of our global community, right? Like we put it in a box for far too long, knowing that it could help the financial sector of things, it could help the environmental sector of things, it could help technology of you know what I mean, it would boost most industries. It's a cash crop. And
Absolutely.
the health, the overwhelming health, because we have an endocannabinoid system. So
Yes.
full plant extract, get to me.
Okay, so do you want me just to describe the process I use real quick?
Yeah, get into it. Give
Okay.
it a little process, because we told him it's a full plant extract. But what do you do? Like alcohol? Talk to me.
Yeah. Well, it's really easy to do, and um, pretty much anybody can do it, and anybody can just build the equipment in a matter of an hour necessary. You can go buy it at your local restaurant supply store if you want to go that way.
I mean, if you were going to sell this product, I feel like you should go the extra mile of making sure you're being tested against some of the standards. I think that if you're gonna, that's fine for personal consumption, but if I was your friend, and we're being consistent, and that might go against the culture of cannabis, which is why we have an adult use market as existing. Like if you're going to sell to masses amounts of people, I want to make sure the product quality is within legal standards of, like, bacteria or
Fair enough.
right, you know what I mean?
I really don't sell to
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
That was not a
that would
yeah.
from the end of my process, it
Right.
would go to a testing lab,
Right, exactly.
and then they would, you
That
know,
that
I
makes sense to
honestly,
me.
none of my product has ever been tested,
Right.
you know, but I've also never had a single complaint either. And I am using high octane alcohol for everything.
Mhm.
So I'm very confident that it's sanitary.
And it should, I feel like personally, the culture of cannabis is to always eventually escalate to the point of where I want to be able to be in control of it, right? So I
Mhm.
go out for myself. It's like any other plant, and if I want to make an RSO extraction, the process is relatively easy. If I care enough to learn, then I should be able to find it out. And if I want to
Absolutely.
go those steps, and I want to know if my process is the like best, I should have an option or a program that I could go towards and pay for reasonably priced lab test on my goods, like just so if I
Mhm.
want to know. But that would make it really a free market out here, and that
Yeah.
is less than ideal for the folks that want to make sure they get their bit off of every um piece
Yeah.
of cannabis money. And it's sad, because the culture of cannabis is to trust your friend, to care enough about what they're growing, what they're making, to not want to kill you, right? That's what you build your bond between you and your plug. That's why they're the plug. That's why they're the homie. You have faith in that they'll deliver you quality product when you request it for a fair price. That's the culture of cannabis,
Yes.
and why the legacy market continues to thrive no matter what they do.
I like that term, legacy market.
Right.
That's one of the best terms I've heard for black market
Yep.
yet.
You're saying you make your Simpson oil. It's a high octane alcohol extraction process. What's like
Mhm.
the first few steps? Get to me.
So I get a big old gallon jar. I put roughly a quarter pound of trim. When I was just using, like I said, trim, and then for a while, the company I was working for used an automatic trimmer, so I would get that stuff. Would had like extra teeth and everything. Well, I soak it in the alcohol for 3 days is the least amount of time I do. I usually soak it for about a week, and then I build. I built a little reflux. What's basically it's called a reflux still. It's a colander inside a big old pot, right? That's up off the bottom. You dump the weed and the alcohol in there. You put it on your stove. You put a big metal bowl on top with cold water in it, and you
Okay.
percolate the alcohol through the weed for like 6 hours.
Got you.
Okay.
Hey, you cooking.
Oh yeah, and exactly. The weed will come out like yellow, super yellow. It's not green anymore, and you'll have this really the black liquid, black alcohol. So then you just dump that in a jar, set that aside, clean up all your stuff. Well, at this point, you've extracted everything possible
Mhm.
out of that cannabis, so you can just throw that away. There's nothing left in it. And then clean. I use bleach. I bleach out the pot, colander, soak it, then rinse it really well, put that away. And then I use a triple boiler. I have one with water, another one with water, and then you have on the top, but you have your alcohol solution. You dump that in there and you just boil it off, boil until it becomes a thick black sludge. And then you suck it up into a syringe and give it to your cancer patient.
There you go, straight from farm to table.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Right,
Super easy.
right,
It takes a long time. It
and,
takes over a week to do it.
right.
About a
And
week to do it properly.
to do it properly, and I will say, like, yes, we always say it's super easy, but human nature is not foolproof. So what are some of the risks? Like, could you set your house on fire?
Absolutely.
Okay, see, like we've got to acknowledge that there are risks to trying anything out, which is why there is the professional industry. I'm not opposed to it, where all of like the building is built to withstand a potential fire. They have the hoods, the HVAC systems, and
Exactly.
the need to have an industry to serve the general public exists, right? But
Hmm.
I think if you are going to be the general public, you need to know what they're doing behind those doors, which is a fancier version. Like they use machines, a fancier version of what this man just described. But now you know the process it takes to get what is in that syringe you go buy in the store for $40, right? So what are you critiquing this product under now, right? So finding out how they go about getting it extracted, what quality of material they put in to start with, right? Those are things you're evaluating your company for. Should I buy this product from them? Can I trust them to not use old moldy weed to make me some full plant extract? Can I trust them to use pesticide free grown products to make me some RSO? How long of a time has this product been extracted and sat in a syringe? And does that, in your opinion, diminish the quality that product can bring? Like, what would you say is if you made some RSO and you could hand it straight to the person, how long can they use that for?
I've never heard of it ever expiring, only
Okay.
getting stronger.
Only getting stronger. Interesting. And what would you think makes it get stronger in the as it sits? Would it be the
I would
conversion?
say I don't know the whole chemistry, but you are creating chemical bonds when when you infuse the alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you boil off 99%,
Right.
you know, 99.5 even.
Right.
There's still that little tiny bit of alcohol in there. That's what helps it absorb through the mouth, which is the way you would
Right.
prefer the best uh, delivery method.
I have heard of people apply. I heard that Rick Simpson said originally it was a topical application
Yes,
of the product.
absolutely. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And then we've found that its efficacy improved once being consumed orally, is what you're
Hmm.
saying now. And
Yes,
I still, but the topical application still stands. I've heard of
absolutely.
the elderly clientele not really wanting to get the full experience that you can get by consuming. Yes. So let's start with the form at which you consume cannabis. Definitely holds to the experience that you can have and the intensity of that experience, the length of time that experience lasts. So, someone more elderly looking for the pain relieving aspects that they could get from the plant, suggested why don't you put it on your foot bottom and put your socks on because of the absorption capabilities. And for women specifically, in like say dealing with PMS or the crampings as a result of a menstrual cycle, putting it on your stomach directly, applying it there via like a band-aid or so it could be absorbed topical, extra helpful as well. And again, these are anecdotal statements, but
Hmm.
these are from people who consume it regularly. It's part of their financial budget and their pain management strategy. So how can we discount what they're saying? I have to pass it on. Yes, it
Hmm.
seems like hearsay, but to me, this person who was crying in front of me talking about how their pain has been relieved by the way they're using this product it's an undeniable fact for me at this point. I put that down as research.
It has so many beneficial properties, like you said,
Right.
pain, anti-nausea, for cancer, dude, anti-cancer, dude, anti-opiate. Dude, there was a television series I watched about opiate addiction, and they took this guy and took him to this place, and they had him make his own cannabis oil that first day, and he made it all in one day, and they had like a little 5 gram syringe, and that was his thing. Was kind of a tough love sort of, addiction rehab.
Okay.
Honestly, I have my own stories with, addiction, and
Right.
definitely cannabis helped me get through those.
Okay. So like it's something that we're seeing more and more individuals speak about. At least I saw as a bud tender interacting with clientele. And when I asked, okay, like after I see you every week for like 5 months, I'm gonna be like, yo, so like, why do you use weed? You know, and the
Mhm.
stories I got amongst the crowd of, without me even having to ask, sometimes the things that they would share, it goes down in my journal of experiences that should be listened to by the individuals that want to oversee this industry. Like, how can you deny the people's voice when the plant has always been by the people and for the people?
Exactly.
Right. So, how do you feel about the use of the term RSO in the adult use market that we know as I-502?
Um, I'm not particularly against it. Um, I think it does pay homage to, a cannabis pioneer who did a lot of experimentation so that we can do what we're doing now. Um, I don't think, and this might get a little sticky here, I don't think that a lot of the companies should use the term full plant extract
Give it to them. Why? Talk to me.
with
Let's
the
hear it.
RSO that they put out, because I've had many people, there's been times when I haven't been able to get the alcohol to make it. And, you
Supply
know,
chain shortages affected many industry.
and they went and got it at the store and said it wasn't half as good as mine. Now, I'm not here to do the Pepsi challenge with anybody, but I do know for a fact that you can run your setup, your product, you can run it with butane and get your shatter out of it, and then soak what's left in alcohol and still get a fairly potent extraction, cannabis oil extraction and edible
Right.
oil, similar to Rick Simpson oil. But that's not full plant extract.
Mm.
You've taken most of the THC and put it into the shatter. All that stuff that was in the shatter is in my RSO.
Got it. So weeding
Now,
out.
one more thing.
Go ahead.
They also do a lot of filtering to filter out plant matter, which makes their RSO a little bit clearer, more appetizing looking, maybe even tasting. I know my stuff tastes like hell. It is not delicious. But I I I believe that the plant matter in there is part of the whole thing. It's part of the whole recipe. You need it. It all works together.
I think your opinion is very fair as a person who has consumed on market RSO and done I mean, I was sitting next to I would consider one of the best RSO producers in the state, Skagit Organics. You know,
I Those guys,
yeah, they
they're
know what
down.
they're
I'm
doing.
down with them.
Right.
Yep,
And
I like those guys.
they get backed by doctors. They get their testing. You can find their COAs, their results. If you're interested, you can ask them for it. They seem to care about quality products. And so
Yes.
but the other alternatives being presented, I hear exactly where you're coming from. And as a person who's consumed your product, it does taste like RSO should, which is extra spicy and planty.
Yeah.
But you put that in a little oatmeal and it's not too bad. And it was a wonderful experience. Definitely helped manage my anxiety throughout the day. And I've got some results from a couple of my closest friends. And they experienced a relief for the first time in quite some time going through
Oh, good.
uh, uh, what they were experiencing. So, kudos, kudos
Thank
all the
you.
way around. But I just think the individuals that tune in, like they might hear us talking about flour all the time and we briefly touch on extractions, but this is real deal stuff. This is where the fun and the medicine of cannabis meet, right here in these full plant extracts. And so you need to know what's the process like, where you could get fooled at in the industry, the loopholes, the conversation starters. Like, if they're saying RSO, evaluate what they use to produce said RSO. Evaluate that color. Is that a real product? And we've given you an on-market suggestion that does do quality and serves a lot of this state. So please support them. They need the assistance. What's next for you, man? Oh, go ahead. Talk to me.
I think down the road, I'm gonna send you a video of
Okay,
the whole
yeah.
process. I'll do the video, the whole process, and then you can, put it out there. And
Exactly. So stay tuned. You hear that, followers?
yeah.
He said it was an easy process, but we warned you could set your house on fire. So are you willing to take that risk? And which route are you going to take? If you decide to take our route, we'll have a little how-to video dropping in the next few months here.
And I have answers for the safety.
Safety.
Yes, I have taken the safety precautions. That it'll all be part of the whole thing.
Okay, that's what I like.
I want everybody to know how easy this process is.
Right.
How easy, if they really just need to make it themselves, they can do it, and they don't even need a whole lot to do it.
Right, exactly.
So
and I'm sure that everyone has tossed their feet, like their way to do it in the hat. So evaluate all the options out there. Make the best decision for you. But if you know you're not that kind of girl and you want the medicine, we do have a adult use market, a medical market that you can go and purchase these things at. Just really evaluate how far you want to participate in this industry, and then educate yourself on how to evaluate the products that you are willing to spend your money on when you have decreased the distance from you and the maker of the product, right? Like that's what the legalizing it has done. We went from being able to call up the person that was either growing it or like, you know what I mean? Like one step away, you were like maybe 3 degrees away, but when we get out here, you're so many more degrees away from the person that grew your plant, that you have no idea what company it is. So get better at evaluating the product. And as a bud tender, I think that was like my 5-star, like where if they're rating me where I was good at. Like I know I learned enough about the person or company that was growing it, and I knew enough about actually evaluating the product that I'm seeing that I could then make a good recommendation and have conversation with any level of consumer. So I wish that's where the training goes for bud tenders. So back to us closing this out. What's next? Where can they find you?
Oh, geez. Mostly,
and should they find you at this point in time?
Oh, they can find me all they want. I'm mostly I'm about music. You'll find me on Instagram. Look up Stone Jones Music. I'm on Facebook, YouTube,
right,
that stuff.
Right. Well, I believe it. And hey, you're a professional escape artist. They will never catch you.
I sure hope not.
Okay. Well, you have a good one and stay baked.
Hey, thank you. Good to see you. Take care.